Y'all ready for a deeper conversation with Chad?
From the one came many. What if we were inside the body of God? If God is all and everything, it makes sense to analogize being within Him. It seems God can know us, but we cannot fully know God. We seem to be but microbes within a greater body, within the body of the Creator. I have compared life to games, movies, TV, dreams. What about if we were inside the body of the Creator, us being but cells in the body of the Lord? Cells, the word, is very similar to selves. All the selves or cells in the body create the whole body. Each individual cell or self is part of the whole. We can lose many cells at one time and still function, but if too many cells are damaged, it would destroy the whole body. In the same note, one cell or self can create change in the whole system. Similar to how birds spread viruses, one can carry and pass it on to all. Each aspect of the body, all the organs, the systems, would have counterparts on the earth. The heart of the planet, the brain, the reproductive element. Like a Russian doll, this comes down from God to the universe, to the world, to the human, to self, all following the same pattern. You even have hearts within cities and counties. For example, the heart of Birmingham, the heart of the Midlands. We know the body has different aspects for different reasons, such as white and red blood cells, each plays a part, the bacteria, fungi, even tissue and skin would all have counterparts. Precious minerals and elements we find in the earth and inside ourselves. Whether we exist in the brain, the heart, the reproductive system, or the whole being, this is debatable. With land mass and countries being potentially different things in relation to the old maps that show other land outside of our own, could indicate we are only part of the whole system and there is more. In relation to the Russian doll scenario, if we are but cells within a greater body, ultimately going up the scales, the world could be just a cell within a greater body, and then going up again, the cosmos could be a cell within the greater body, and then going up again, the universe within a greater body. Where does it end? Many of us don't believe in God because of the happenings on earth and say that He does not listen. Asking how could there be a God and how could He let this happen? Well, let's take the perspective you are God, and the cells in your body are us people. The cells often talk to us, but we choose not to listen. Your stomach growls and lets you know it's hungry. You can choose to ignore this or eat. Sometimes we let the hunger go on for a while. For us, this may be an hour. For our cells, this is a lot longer. This could be years. Research Gurdjieff and his timescales range in regard to the macro and micro. Times change accordingly to scale. Your legs tell you they hurt, but you still walk. Your body tells you are tired, but you fight it. You need the toilet, but you hold it. There are so many aspects of your body talking to you, and you not listening. So what if it was the same for God? He hears all our little cells or selves speaking, but chooses to do what He wills, regardless of what His cells tell Him to do. He's the master. It is not that He doesn't hear us or He is evil, but the scale of what we are couldn't comprehend what's happening. But if He chooses to ignore the hunger for an hour or two, is it really a bad thing, an evil thing?
Feed me, Carbon! Feed me now!
I can't.
I'm starving!
Look, maybe I can squeeze a little more out of this one.
More!
There isn't any more.
Not necessarily, but our hungry selves will think so. We will be demanding what we want now. And this begs the question, can cells be happy or sad? And could this affect the whole system and vice versa? If the whole system is sad, depressed, or even happy, does it affect the cells within? Using the same scales, let's look. Within the world, the general attitude and happenings affect the whole world. And although parts of the world or particular peoples can be happy, generally there is an overall mood. Like the stomach is being satisfied, but the bladder isn't. Some parts will be in conflict with one another. And at the same time, if the world is in a good condition, its peoples will generally be happy. If the world was dying, we would all have a completely different outlook. So the world and the universe affect us, and in turn we affect them. If, for example, if all the world was sad and depressed, all the peoples of the world, would the world be sad? Would the higher organism be sad? It would be depending on whether the higher allowed the smaller to affect it. For example, when you're hungry, you could choose to let that make you feel sad or depressed as you are wanting food. Or you could just take it that you're hungry and you need to eat later. Or if all our cells are tired and need rest, that may affect the higher, or it may not, depending on where the higher's attention is. For example, if you're tired but you have a beautiful person standing in front of you that wants to have sex, maybe this makes you happy. And depending on this action, it would affect the lower. Say if he chooses to sleep or deny sleep or participate in the sex, making himself more tired. The cells may not be happy about this, although on one level the organism will be feeling relief from this act. So next time you ask God for something and he doesn't answer, or it doesn't happen when you want it to, ask yourself, do you listen to your own selves or selves? And before you curse the above, think of this as it's the exact same scenario.
Isn't it weird how a sperm turns into a human, and how that one sperm in a trillion, they say, look identical but each very different in their own way? One produces a punk rocker while the next produces a classical music composer. From a milky-like substance that ends up mostly on the ends of tissues to an intelligent being that then has the ability to reproduce itself, repeating the process all over again. Have you ever thought, out of all those competitors, you won? You won the race for life. You overcame billions if not trillions of others to be here. How that one little sperm found that one little egg, the egg. And that little egg with that little sperm created a miracle, created life. From nothing came everything, from the unseen to the seen. And the odds of that little sperm finding his way to that little egg are next to none. But he does it. He achieves the almost impossible task of beating his competition and reaching his goal, and in doing so his reward is life. He gets to transcend his current form into something more. Like the caterpillar becoming the butterfly is a similar story. From something that is potential to become that potential. You have to ask the question, if this is the case at the very start of our existence, is it the case at the end? Like the sperm, are we moving towards an ultimate goal of transcending, which we call death? What if this was a similar story for the sperm? For would the sperm know what they were doing? Are they conscious of the fact that they are trying to create life, reach a goal, make a baby, become a human? Maybe not. And if not, it would more be like an automatic response where although the sperm isn't conscious of its journey, it still happens. He still chases the almost impossible task, not actually knowing he's chasing the impossible task. Does the sperm know life exists outside of his domain? Is he aiming purposely or not? When he reaches the egg, does he know what will happen? Is the sperm scared? From the sperm's perspective, this could be seen as death, beyond the unknown, only for it to be life. Life much fuller and realer than his current existence. The answer to the question, is it a leap of faith or a knowing, may never be known, but relating this back to us and death, it's more a case of a leap of faith, a leap into something unknown, a leap into darkness, and we fear this, but should we? Now we relate all this to the one we know from the Matrix as Neo, who was the one to awake and transcend his reality. In essence, this is the sperm that makes it out. The one out of the trillions that transcend. There can only be one, and there is only one. Oneness is spoken about in all religions and sectors. Oneness with the earth, or oneness with humanity, or even the realm. All this oneness. They say from one we came. It's like the sperm that meets the egg and creates a being, and within that being are billions if not trillions of cells, all made from the one, and within that organism there will be another sperm or egg that is generated, and in time it will be released and transcends to create a completely separate entity from its original source. And this process repeats itself over and over again. People may ask what came first, the sperm or the egg or the bean? Like the chicken or the egg or the seed or the tree? Ultimately neither but both. It feels like a Russian doll scenario where you just keep going back and back and back, never finding a start. The sperm that creates my child came from me, I came from my father, and my father came from his father, and so on. Where did it begin? The same place it ends, at the beginning. And how can one transcending transcend all? Well, like the billions of cells within an organism and the DNA that runs through it are all coded with the same code. A blood test from one droplet of blood reveals the whole organism's condition. Each cell or part of that organism contains the whole as well as being an individual. So with this said, when one sperm or one cell transcends, it takes all the other cells with it, as they are all contained within him. By him transcending, he takes the coding of the whole organism with him, and they transcend together into a single being. But as we all know, within that single being again is billions and trillions of new cells who will repeat this process over again. As long as one makes it out, the whole survive. This could be seen as a family reproducing in general. As long as the family has one child, their DNA will continue, their coding will carry on. Just like the one little sperm, as long as he makes it out, he continues the journey for all, from the beginning to the end to back again.
I just wanted to say thanks. I'm glad you came along, partner.